right, Dave, I got you a little diagram going on here to kind of shimmy shit out here. So here's your cab, right? All verticalized, which I also prefer. Your two G12T75s with your positive and negative tabs, and your jack. So it looks something like that, right? So there's two ways that you can wire a two-speaker cabinet. You can wire it series or parallel. There's no mixing it up like you would in a 412. There's only series and parallel. So when you wire it series, it doubles your speaker load for your total load. And with parallel, it cuts it in half. So if you're running 16 ohm speakers, which by the way, don't worry about the 15. 16 ohm loads are actually always less than 16 a little bit. So they were just kind of a little more honest with it back in the day by saying 15. So say you were to take two 16 ohm speakers, right? Or 15, whatever, but call them 16 for the sake of the demonstration. And you were to wire them in series, then you would end up with a total load of 32 ohms. And if you do it in parallel, you'll end up with an 8 ohm load, which is what you want, right? Because 32 makes no fucking sense. So whenever you put 16 ohm speakers in a 212, always wire it parallel for a total of 8 ohm loads. Now, how do we do that? Like this. So, for one thing, the spade connectors, the little connectors on the end of your wire, right? The one that's missing, that's easy to put back on. Basically, you just run the wire. You can buy these at like Home Depot or wherever. Just run the wire into it about that far, and then you just take some clamps and clamp it down, and that's all. So, my recommendation personally is to not use the spade connectors because they do come loose and cause impedance fluctuations over time, and just solder them straight to the speaker terminals, right? Which is not going to hurt the speaker. It's totally fine. And on these old speakers, sometimes you might have to do that anyway because instead of having two tabs, they'll only have one or something like that. So now that that's covered, here's how you're going to wire it basically. So at your jack, you'll know, I think these are the sides they're on, but don't quote me on this. How you'll know which side is positive and negative is think of the cable that goes in, right? You've got your tip and your sleeve. Well, the tip is obviously what goes here, right? Because this rests against the tip, and then the sleeve just touches the connector here, right? So sleeve is negative and tip is positive. That's always the case. So you'll be able to tell because this little bit that connects the tip will be directly connected to the metal that one of these tabs is running off of, and that tab will be your positive. And the other tab will be connected to the opening for the sleeve here, and that'll be your negative. So that's how you tell which one of these is the positive and which one of those is the negative. So parallel wiring, very simple. You're gonna run a wire from, and you solder the wires to this, of course. There's no spade connectors for this. So you are gonna solder the wires to the jack, and you run one positive wire to one of the positives on the speakers. Now, I recommend running straight from the jack to whatever speaker you intend to be on the bottom, because the first speaker that gets the juice is gonna get it just ever so slightly louder. So you want that to kind of even out by having the bottom speaker a little louder so it's more even. So you go from the positive on the jack to the positive terminal on your speaker. You go from the negative terminal on the jack to the negative terminal on your speaker. And then you just go from the positive terminal of this speaker to the positive terminal of the other speaker, and vice versa, from the negative terminal of this speaker to the negative terminal of the other speaker. And that is how you wire a parallel load. So again, I kind of would recommend soldering the connections to the speaker terminals instead of using spade bits, but you can use spade bits if you want. It's just more stable if you solder. And that, Dave, is how you'll get all that shit straight. Of course, feel free to hit me up for a more in-depth explanation, or for like if you want to FaceTime through it or whatever, that's all cool too. So yeah, man, there you go. Whenever you get to it, just let me know.